we're gonna start to explain this simulation, which is about an arm robot that it's gonna translate this cylinder from this base to this base. This is a easy simulation, and we are gonna start doing this by the programming. How do we have to do this? Well, we have to establish a connection, we have to interact with the robot, we have to learn to do this, and we have to know the type of programming that the robot has. For example, to do this, we had to learn how to program this robot and the main words, to say of a way, that we need to give orders to the robot to follow the instructions to do this simulation. Well, we're gonna start. The 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 first that appears here is H open, which tell us that the robot it's gonna have the the clamp open to take the cylinder. But first of all, we have to know the main words to program this. The first is MOV, which appears here. It performs an interpolation in the axis of the robot point by point to make the movement easier and faster. And remember that with these instructions you can intuit the trajectory. The second that we have is MBS, which appears here, and this performs a linear interpolation with which we obtain a linear trajectory as a result. The third is the OBRD, which defines the percentage of maximum speed. And then, as I mentioned before, we have the H open or H closed, which is gonna order to the robot to open or close the clamp to take the cylinder. Here we have the complete programming, and to see if this is okay, we have to compile. And as we can see here, we have here 0 errors and 0 warnings, which tell us that it's all okay. By the way, we have in here the positions. To do this simulation, we only need 5 positions, which this tells us in the X, Y, and Z. For example, here we have the first position, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Here we have the programming, the complete programming. We add some delay. DLA is delay. SPD is the velocity. And we have to know that to change from a movement MOV to MBS, we have to decrease the velocity to avoid some problems on the programming and in the robot, in the operate of the robot operation. So here we have the simulation, and compile plus link, we start the simulation. Up to here, we could say that here is the simulation finished, but I decided to implement some other steps in the programming to do it more interesting. Let's check. I decided to take back the cylinder to the initial position. And here we have the end, and we could say that this is end. But to do it more interesting, we could reset the work cell. We go to execute, and we start cycle. And this is more interesting because we can see here that the cylinder change from one base to other base and go back to the main position, or they